Subscribe to Dave's Multiverse on YouTube, Spotify.
That was supposed to say and rumble today and switch to the next scene, but we are live in the multiverse. Greetings, humans. We got a brand new series we are calling Mars Disclosure Live. We're going to check out some anomalous features today, but first I want to introduce my panel. First, my lovely producer, Miss Indonesia Jones herself, Megan Gibson. How's it going?
Oh, good. Very happy for this discussion today. I can't wait.
Awesome. We also had a delegation from the Institute for Natural Philosophy. I don't know if one person can constitute as a delegation, but if so, let's meet Jason Huffman, the shamanic sage of the Institute for Natural Philosophy, blending ancient wisdom with modern vibes. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Well, rather than delegai, we will run with delegate. I'm happy to fill the role. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for asking me. I've been attached personally, getting just enjoyment, first of all, out of John Ward's work for a long time. First discovered him on his show, so this is quite apt on this show, Dave. So this is apropos and fortuitous, and I hope to have fun. And I'm glad the audience is here. Thank you guys for tuning in. And Mr. Ward, I'm looking forward to learning about your process. This is going to be a great time. Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome, buddy. Thank you for being here. Next, say hello to John Ward, the Mars anomaly hunter, turning NASA images into extraterrestrial enigmas. With eagle-eyed skills, he'll unveil Martian mysteries like megaliths and ruins and potential anomalous features that you've never seen before. I guarantee it. John Ward, hailing from South Africa. It's like after midnight there, buddy. Thanks for joining.
You're welcome. Thanks. I'm delighted to be here. Greetings from across the pond, as they would say.
Yes, sir. And lastly, enter my friend Brian Cory Dobbs, award-winning filmmaker behind Blue Planet Red, turning Mars Disclosure into blockbuster excitement. He's blasting off with jaw-dropping evidence of the red planet's hidden habitable past. Brian Cory Dobbs, BCD, what's up, my man?
Dude, what's going on, man? Blockbuster, that's real nice. Dave, thank you so much for hosting us here. This is awesome.
Hey, you're welcome. When you first introduced me to Jean and then I brought him on the show, I can't remember if you guys came on together or separately or whatever. I don't even remember, but I've been in ever since, and I've been following Jean's work. So yeah. And then I just wanted to mention to the chat, please let us know where you're watching from in the multiverse, whatever node of the multiverse you're in. Let us know where you're watching from. If you have any questions, let us know.
Dave, while the chat is chiming in, let me say, Brian, I forgot to, I owe you. I just shouted out Jean, and I found Brian's work came to me, to Ricardo and I at the Shaman and the Philosopher. Live nerves, dude, forgive me. And the Philosopher. And I asked Ricardo, I was like, hey, I want to talk to the fellow about Mars. And I was meeting John Ward, and he thought I meant Brian Cory Dobbs. And so I got to meet Brian Cory Dobbs and see his amazing work. And I'm quoting your work all the time, dude. So it's an honor to be, I really am. So it's an honor to be sitting here next to you as well.
Yo, Cody, East 10 Outpost, dropping in. We got Tammy, the pet sitter, one of our number1 fans. Shout
What up,
out.
Tammy? Cody.
So, Brian, I want to start with you, and let's frame what we mean when we're talking about Mars Disclosure. What are we talking about?
Yeah, sure. Just real quickly respond to Jason. Jason, thank you very much. We wanted Ricardo on this show. Ricardo was having some technical difficulties. We'll get him on next time for sure. Ricardo, I think, among all of us, has probably been looking at Mars Disclosure the longest. Jean, I'm not sure exactly when you started, but I know Ricardo's been working on it for a long time. So I know he's got a lot to say, and him and I have collaborated in the past on a few different things. But this here very well could be the start of something big, and it's been a long time coming. I have this vision of this Mars community becoming as well known as, say, for instance, the ancient civilization community, or what you might consider the Cosmic Summit community, those of you who know George Howard. and the UFO community. These two different communities get a lot of attention, and I am slowly coming to this position. It's taken me a while to get there because my journey into Mars had to start somewhere. And it was where a lot of people's journey starts, which is, well, I saw the face on Mars back in college, and that's where it, started and ended until many years later, until I went down a rabbit hole, and found my way onto Mars. But there is, in my opinion, enough evidence of current and past life on Mars, and I'm really trying to frame the story of Mars in a way that helps inform both the ancient civilization stories and the UFO community. Okay, I think it relates to both.
It does.
There's enough evidence, really, and excuse me, I'm still coughing up something here. What I really want to try to do is to really identify just what the heck what we're talking about here. What does Mars disclosure mean? It's an evolving, term for me, and I think it's one that is necessary. But I really want to try to go around the room here and identify what it means to each one of us, because I think there's different levels of understanding here in the room, and for the community, rather for the greater public out there who has no idea that there's really anything other than just a vast desert wasteland on Mars. Like, I really am trying to do my best to communicate to the public, look, there's something going on here, and I wouldn't be putting my personal and professional reputation on the line if I didn't think there was something to it. And it is only because of the work that Jean Ward, among dozens of other researchers around the world, have been doing over the past 10, 20, 30 years, that I would, have anything to be working on myself. I'm really here just to try to elevate the work of everybody else. I'm not a researcher myself. So that being said, for those people who have seen the film, you already have an idea about what's going on here. But for those people who haven't seen the film, when we're talking about Mars disclosure, we have to talk about a number of different things. We have to talk about the evidence for primitive life, both past and present, and intelligent life, both past and present. And when we frame things, I don't like using the word proof. I really prefer using the word evidence, unless proof actually is more appropriate. For example, there is water on Mars. We have proven this. So every time you see a headline in the news saying we found water on Mars, guys, we discovered that 50 years ago. And arguably much longer ago, looking through telescopes, when we see these polar ice caps on Mars, we just confirmed that they're mostly H2O. Okay. So when you look at what NASA's objective is with their approach towards finding life in outer space, their mantra is follow the water. Why? Because that's where life is most likely to be found. And there's an abundance of water on Mars. It is, granted, mostly in the form of ice. But when we're sitting here trying to look for microbes are just fine with the conditions on Mars. So I guess my question is, I want to go around the room here and just get a sense of what everyone's perspective is on Mars, what it was, what it is now, what was your entry point, what does Mars mean to you today?
Jason? I can answer. I can go if you don't want to.
Sure. No, I just need to unmute. It's fine. Right. So for those that aren't familiar, real quickly, my interest was at first personal. All the stuff you see behind me, a lot of native stuff. So my work was discovering mounds and native structures right out here in the woods. And then I got into the antediluvian, what we term lost civilization, discoveries in North Alabama. Then I came upon really the work of Jean Ward, and I saw him showing these images on Mars as I was discovering things on Earth that sort of blew my narrative that I'd been handed about life here on Earth out of the water, right? Well, now I saw the same thing. He was sort of pushing and portraying the same thing about Mars, right? Now, where do I personally feel it fits in the narrative? I try to keep it simple, right? Again, not proof. Here's what I like most about it, guys, because I'm a curiosity-driven individual. I like the questions that it poses because they are endless, right? So whether we're talking evidence or proof, the questions one gets from this stuff you're about to show us are really endless. Finally, I think it could tie in, as you say, to these things that people identify as, be they UFOs, be they whatever, that flies in the sky, because it is, let me say it like this. I like to think of it all as human, right? So if I'm finding structures in Peru, right, or LiDAR in South America that looks like some of these images of some of these things I find on Mars, right? Why do I assume that it had to be some foreign, imaginary, outer space race that did it? Why don't I go, well, shit, if we were doing it here, excuse the language, we were probably doing it there. And perhaps because of the gravity, we might have been a bit bigger. And perhaps that's why in my area of study, Native Americans, we have lore of these people who were 7.5, 8 feet tall. We have firsthand descriptions of these, you know, so one can tie a taller hominid, right, as Dan Richards said in our talk earlier, or humanoid-like species to both places. And I think Mars sort of fits in both the hunt for the lost civilization. And as you said, are these survivors of some cataclysm buzzing around in our sky? I don't know, but that's just as fun as to think they're sheltered here and were once there as it is to go, I don't know, something from way over somewhere else came over here. And I'll cut with that. Thanks, guys. I think it's key to the story in both, and you're right, bro. It fits in both categories. Thanks for your work, guys.
Yep. And Megan, your intro to Mars, and like, where are you at with Mars right now?
I would say I'm probably the layman in the room, but just from my general nerding out, I love the concept that Mars was inhabited and something went wrong, and so maybe we jumped over to Earth because the circumstances changed or something like that. But I'm just excited to hear what you guys have to say and to open my mind to all this stuff today, really.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. And for me, I mean, I've always been interested in space since I was a kid, and all the planets and stuff is like my favorite subject in science class. I went to see the movie A Mission to Mars with who was in that? Gary Sinise, Tim Robbins, Don Cheadle, Jerry O'Connell, Connie Nelson, Kim Delaney, all-star cast. Went to see that in theater with my first girlfriend, and it totally blew my mind because at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, but the movie's like 30 years old, they find a face on Mars and then they enter it. And then Gary Sinise chooses to stay in the face while everyone else leaves to return to Earth. And he gets zapped off into the universe and joins a collective consciousness or some kind of alien race or something. And I was like, when I was 14 or however old I was at the time, I got into amateur astronomy. I have a telescope upstairs. I've looked at Mars like with my own telescope personally a bunch of times. But as an adult, I you know, like you hear stuff, you know, the water, the face, you know, all that stuff. But I had no idea that there was like all these other anomalous features that I got introduced to by Jean. And since then, and also Brian's documentaries, fabulous. It's absolutely outstanding. If you haven't seen it, Blue Planet Red on Amazon Prime. But that started opening my eyes, and then I started looking at all the stuff that John's doing, and he's putting out stuff regularly. He works on this as a second full-time job, and so I'm just super excited to look at some of this stuff together, see what we all think, see what the chat thinks, that kind of thing.
Brian's discovery, or let's say Brian's highlighting the fact with his work, as he highlighted to me, discovering the chemical on Mars, which they look for on other planets to determine whether or not they tell us there could be life there. To realize that we had found that on Mars, and Brian, was it 73, 76, I believe?
Yes, that's right. Goodness, where to start? So I feel like, first of all, before I forget, let me just geek out just for one moment, okay? Because Dave helped me in this regard, and I think you know where I'm going with this. But earlier this week, I was fortunate enough to be invited on the Matt Bell podcast. I got my cool big Matt Bell Limitless mug here, and I am super excited that the episode's going to come out in a couple of weeks, because I mean that's going to be some really good exposure for Mars Disclosure. So, thank you, Matt Bell, for inviting me on. And I really went on there to do what I always do, is to really just not just talk about, I hardly talked about my film at all. I talked about the community and about the work that the community has done ever since, essentially for the past 50 years. And, Megan, for, I guess for the uninitiated, for people who don't know anything, that don't know much about Mars, what we're essentially dealing with at a high level bullet point list here is, number one, strong evidence for current microbial life on Mars. We're looking at evidence for past microbial life on Mars and primitive multicellular life and intelligent life. We have artifacts, we have structures, we've got UFOs, and then we've got essentially metaphysical analysis about what happened to the planet that is backed up by raw data. Okay. And that, like what you were alluding to before, sort of what turned the planet red, and if there were inhabitants, did they come over here? That whole story is very terrifying and heartbreaking. Yeah. But it's kind of heavy to deal with. So I guess I want to try to identify a starting point here. I want to make this interesting for those of us here, those of us listening. And I went on Matt Bell and I started talking about water and microbes. He's like, I need you to get to the awesome stuff. And I'm like, okay, man, we'll get there.
Well, so I think we have both. That's what's cool about what Dave, you put together here, right? We have experts sort of in both the macro and the micro, right? As I'm fond of quoting Brian and your discoveries about the chemicals and the microbes all the time, Jean has look, in my work, guys, I just always tell people, just look at something, forget a narrative and look at something. Just look, right? What do you see? And that's what John's work then handles, is you've got these things that once you get them in front of you, you have to ask a question, with yourself and with the story you're telling yourself.
Yeah. And so we mentioned the work a couple of times, and Brian mentioned that there's dozens of researchers that have been looking into this stuff for a long time. And Rubate said something in the chat earlier that I wanted to highlight. Let me just put it up there. The most important stuff is obvious anomalies to official narratives at the back end of that sentence. That's essentially what you guys are looking for. You're not looking for, you're not claiming to see anything that is totally like that you haven't seen. You're showing us images. So we've got one of the researchers here, Jean Ward. If you would talk to us a little bit about what you do in the process before we get into some pictures and stuff.
Right. Okay, Dave, just before I do that.
Yeah.
I just want to give you my perspective on Mars Disclosure, if I may.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we need that. We can't forget that. That's important.
Yeah. For me, Mars Disclosure goes about changing the narrative, getting the guys at NASA and the DoD, because the two work hand in hand. If you watch Max and his interview with... Ross Coulthard. He shows clips of the Space Act of 1958 and the Brookings Report. And NASA's bound to secrecy in certain circumstances, which is, for the safety of America. But I want that narrative to change. I want them to come forward and say, listen, yes, we have discovered these things on Mars and the Moon and in our solar system. And this is what it is actually all about. That's what I want from Mars Disclosure. I just want the narrative to change up at the top echelons. What do they call it? The three-letter agencies.
Three-letter agencies.
Yeah. That's what it's about to me. I do this work.
Or 4 letters, just FYI, because NASA.
Right. I do this research to inform the public. Even if I'm being shadow banned or my work is being undermined or marginalized, a lot of us in this research field feel that we're being marginalized. So for me, I'll just continue doing it. The process involves sifting through thousands and thousands of NASA photographs, finding anomalies, and then I present them to the public. I don't say what these things are. Sometimes I speculate, but I leave it up to the public to decide what they see for themselves. They must make up their own mind.
That's so important.
I don't push a narrative from my side. I leave it up to the audience to decide. Here and there, I will speculate, and I'll put my 2 cents worth in. But yeah, it's like a second job, literally. I've got my day job, and then I spend 4-5 hours in the evenings doing research. So yeah, for me, it's a passion. I started in 2017, I think it was. And I can't stop. This is something that I'll continue doing for as long as I can. So I'm glad you guys find this work fascinating, and that the stuff I find is so compelling that we find Earth analogs to most of these things. This huge pyramid. Everything on Mars is huge, by the way. It's much larger than you'd see here on Earth. Specifically the pyramids. They are kilometers wide. So I agree with you, Jason. The guys, I think we're bigger than us, taller. I don't know if we are from Mars or if we descend from Mars, but the connection is there.
Right, John? I mean, this once you see this evidence that you put forward, right? In my mind, I'm going to look for a narrative that fits, that just works for my own self, right? And so that is one that works for me. That I would have no disparity in believing that's an episode we forgot, because when you look at this evidence that you're going to get to, you're going to ask questions, and I did. And so I had to find a way where it fit. And right away, when you see, as you said, those correlating images of South American potentially stuff and this Mars stuff, though it's much larger, your brain's going to figure out one way or another they're related, at least to me. And who knows? That's just my opinion.
So,
Go ahead,
sorry, Brian. Yeah, we've got a connection to Mars. We are all fascinated with Mars. And the Moon, to a certain extent. But in our subconscious minds, I believe we know there's a link, and it's missing. There's ancient knowledge and history that's been wiped. But in our subconscious, there's something that tells us, wait, there's something about Mars, and we can't put our fingers on it.
It's intuitive. It's intuitive. Brian, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we should get into a show and tell here, but before we do, I want to go around and Jason, Dave, and Megan. One of the things I focus on is addressing skepticism head on, not trying to avoid it. So, given that you're at varying levels of sort of integration with this idea of Mars and the artificiality hypothesis and all this other kind of stuff, speak freely about what you guys are most skeptical of. Don't be afraid to tell, because trust me, like, I'm skeptical of things as well. And when Jean and I are vetting images, we'll say, maybe not. Sometimes we'll feel like this is a really good example, and we'll go forward with it. Sometimes it doesn't really, it doesn't really have a good probability of landing well with the public, even though we may personally feel good about it. But, you know, given what we just sort of outlined, you know, the scope of things that we've outlined and what you've seen thus far, and that this is probably more new for you guys than it is for Jean and I, and maybe Ricardo. Talk to me about your inherent skepticism with some of the stuff. I'm assuming that there must be some, and I'm just curious as to where you guys are at on that.
I'll go first. So I want to make sure to point out that skepticism and open-mindedness aren't polar opposites, right? You can be very open-minded and also skeptical of what you're seeing at the same time, right? And I'm at the point in my life, just generally sweeping all across the board. If it's official if it's an official narrative, I'm skeptical. I know we're not getting the truth from the people in power. There are a bunch of lizard people running the world right now, and I don't want to get into that. But if you focus on Mars, when it comes to that, we've obviously haven't been told the truth, and it's being obviously like, you know, cast aside, and that they've been sticking to this narrative for however long. And so I have a very open mind, but I all the way up to giant people building giant pyramids on Mars, and then somehow a catastrophe sent you know, microbes to Earth, and Earth happened or whatever, and here we are. But all the way to that, but I'm skeptical of that idea. You know what I mean? Like, I need proof, evidence of that. But we are, as a community, and I wanted to point this out too, we're not going to get the answers we want from the official channels, those 3-letter agencies, or that 4-letter agency, NASA. We're not. Just like with the Lost Ancient Civilization stuff, we have to build community outside of that and start exploring this stuff. And so this feels like the first step. But I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical of everything. Like the face, I'm skeptical. I don't know. But what's hard to be skeptical of is the images that Jean is going to show us, because they're very clear, high resolution, and they're just anomalous. So, you know, that's where I'm at. Jason, where are you at?
I'm probably the wrong guy to ask about skepticism. Now, you know, look, I believe that I have stood on evidence of the lost civilization here on this planet, right? So you gotta remember, I'm starting from that baseline, right? Now, are there things in these photos where I'm 100% like that's something? There's some of the photos where, like, you know, no, I'm like, you know, well, that could very much well be natural. But here's the thing. It's once you start to look at the mass of anomalies, you know, I do one other thing. Not only do I try to look up something objectively detached from narrative, as Dave pointed out, our institutions and structures have become so corrupted, right? That we know, my personal experience showed me that, you know, we can't trust them. So I learned to read a person's passion. That's one reason that our show, the Shaman and Philosopher, Ricardo, who can't join us, that's why we started that show and why we originally had you on, right? Was I could see passionate individuals. I could see individuals that were not, excuse me, Dave, were not bullshitting, right? In their own energy and in their own passion and desire to get this knowledge out there and their belief in what they were seeing. Now, for me personally, guys, that has me in a pretty open place. And I will be happy to play that devil's advocate on some of the photos, because in my discoveries on Earth, in my examining LiDAR, I have to do that with myself, you know, all the time. I have to double check my own self, because I don't work with anybody. But that's where I am with skepticism. You know, I'm just extremely open because I have passion. I have what seems to be a bleeding honesty in front of me now, you know, and the rest is up to me in my eyes. And again, I go back to the number, right? So I'm always telling people about the stuff I find on Earth. Look at one and give me an excuse, okay, but look at all of them, please, right? And then come to me with some thoughts. Yeah, that's right.
Right. Yeah. Megan, Where are you at with Mars skepticism?
So I say I'm also not the most skeptical person. I have a very open mind and I get pretty excited about new ideas. And I'm personally searching for lost ancient cultures on this planet. So it doesn't seem like such a stretch that there could be evidence of lost ancient cultures on other planets. And I don't know. I think I just generally try and keep an open mind and follow what feels right in my intuition. But even that is open to other people's opinions and ideas along the way to shift that. Like I like the idea that the moon was brought here to like sort out the earth going crazy after a catastrophe, and it's like some sort of ancient technology that helps stabilize our planet. And I have no evidence of that, but it's the theory that I'm the most excited about. And
There's evidence that the moon's weird, Megan. You keep going, but I'm with you.
No, so much evidence, just like the proportions of it, how proportionate it is to the sun and to the earth. And it's like how many are like 108 or something. Earths to the sun and moon to the earth, and I don't know. It's just there's too many anomalies to not feel like it's some big design or it's some intentional thing placed there. So I'm onto the moon, but with Mars, let's just say I'm very open-minded. I love that you're able to point out structures that are not natural, like right angles and things like that. That gets me really excited and just makes me want to learn everything you guys have to say about it.
Awesome. Dave, you had something to say?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so you
Something
guys
happened with the connection. Did I disappear for a second?
You did,
You're here,
but
man.
you're back. You're back.
Yeah, the gremlins in the system, man.
Great aliens. Okay, you guys know the famous Carl Sagan quote that everyone loves to throw around. Anyone tries to make a bold claim on the internet, right? It's the extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, right? People just like, that's not true because Carl Sagan has this awesome quote, right? To which I would respond with, which is going to help inform this discussion, another quote by Carl Sagan in his book Cosmos and in his TV series Cosmos. I don't know if you guys have ever watched that. It's great.
Yeah, wonderful.
Carl Sagan says.
So I was just going to say I've seen the both versions, but Carl's is the best one.
They're all so well produced. He says, imagine you're basically flying in a spaceship trying to figure out whether or not there's intelligent life on a planet below. How are you first going to know if there's intelligent life there? And his quote is, intelligent life on Earth first reveals itself through the geometric regularity of its constructions. What's he talking about? Seeing long straight lines and angles and 90-degree angles, just things that nature doesn't do. Okay? So when Jean and I are taking a look at these images, and Jean has a really good eye for this. He's found so many things. Jean is a hero here of the thing, and we're gonna show, in my opinion, John's best discovery here in just a moment. I'm queuing you up, buddy. But first, I want to preface this by asking you guys: are you guys familiar with Land of Chem, Jeffrey Drum?
Yes.
Okay. Jason, John, I think you might know him, but he's been doing this analysis of the pyramids over in Giza. Long story short, his basic hypothesis is that these pyramids were not tombs. They were not energy creators, but they were energy attractors. They were lightning attractors, and they were big chemical plants and things of that nature. Okay. He's got a very well-developed hypothesis.
And it was called Kemet in the old days. I get it. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Now I'm going to start share here, Dave, just because he was on the Matt Bell podcast, and he was showing this one slide talking about the Great Pyramid and how the Great Pyramid was essentially a thunderstorm generator. It was designed to attract lightning. Now, how it did that was it was built in a very certain way. I'm just paraphrasing layman's terms here, built in a very certain way to attract lightning, and so that it would it would have the highest positive potential charge at the top. I don't know if you guys saw this, but lightning being negative energy, and if you getting the positive energy from the earth, the greatest voltage difference, electrical potential difference between the clouds and the top of the pyramid would happen right here in this red spot. And he says that this is the reason why there is no capstone on the Great Pyramid right now, because that's not where the greatest electrical potential would be. I don't know if you guys have seen this before. So now, if he's right, which they've done measurements and they've basically saying this is where the greatest electrical potential would be. So if he's right, this would help explain why other pyramids we see on Earth have flat tops, and why we also see flat top pyramids on Mars. Now, my buddy, where'd John go? And he just got
I don't know where John went. He's
Okay,
back. He's back.
John, this is your moment, buddy. So listen,
He had to go run a little water.
I had to go for a quick body break, guys.
okay, so this,
Sorry.
in my opinion, changes the game. We are to jump, Megan. We're jumping to the deep end here. Okay, we're going all the way.
I'm ready. You got me on pyramid. I'm in.
Excuse me. Okay, this thing is incredible. It's 2.5 miles wide. Now, tell me, I ask this of anybody looking at this: does this look like a volcano?
No, in fact, the little protrusion at the bottom left of it, is almost looks like another structure. But this looks like it could be the Great Pyramid from above, from above it. To be fair.
Yeah, or one of the South Americans, because of whatever the correct terminology is, the foyer or the portico, right there on the beginning.
I'll bring up the comparison in just a second, but if we're just looking at this at first glance, in terms of characterizing, John was just commenting about how we don't try to speculate or characterize what things are. I do think it is somewhat fair to try to do so. And here's why.
Okay. So go ahead.
Because NASA does it, and they're not doing it in good faith. And I'll explain more later. But when they try to title what they see, when they try to describe what they see, I don't think what they're labeling things really holds up. So if they're doing it, in my opinion, not in good faith, I think we can do it. We have the right to do it as well. Now, what I'm seeing here, at the very least, is a four-sided, symmetrical, pyramidal structure. If you want to upgrade that to pyramid, I wouldn't argue with you, because it has four sides. It's not conical like a volcano would be. And by the way, the average size for a volcano on Mars, anybody take a guess about what I did the math on this, okay? What the average size of a volcano is on Mars?
10 miles.
100 miles.
Yeah, it's something huge. I mean, it's going to be.
Is it 100?
Right?
It's 100.
What? Yeah, Mount Olympus. What's that big one? Mount Olympus.
Olympus Mons is the size of Arizona.
Yeah, and
right?
there's three of them, right?
That's the biggest, and the other ones are size of other smaller states. But yeah, so these things that are 2.5 miles wide, while that may seem large in relative to what we see in Egypt, okay, and they are, because the gravity is a lot lower. So if you were going to build a pyramid, you could get away with building something bigger. They're too small, really, to be volcanoes on Mars.
Right.
And
what other factors could one use, Brian, to call this a volcano, right? I mean, even if we try to play devil's advocate, and I have what one could, if you really were trying, could call flow from that sort of, what is that, about 2 o'clock, the top right-hand corner of that thing, right? and then, what might be described as flow. But then, even then, what my eye sees as a problem, just from here, I have seen the scaled out version, but just from here, these boulders, if you're telling me this thing is 2.5 miles wide, then how big are those pieces of rock, and why are they scattered away from the flow if this thing was a volcano? That to me is very flimsy. Outside of the whole force-sided thing.
Yeah. So, and Jason, you were just making the comparison, which I got a couple of slides here just on this. Okay, here's it. These are what volcanoes look like. Okay, like you would expect them to look like, round or conical with a depression in the center with a caldera. Okay, so any geologist, if they're saying that that's what this is, like you've lost me. Like that I don't see how that holds water. And as you guys know, like with unexcavated pyramids, they're not going to look pristine. But keep in mind that the surface of Mars is old. We're talking millions, perhaps even billions of years old. Mars was Earth-like before Earth was Earth-like. So, but it doesn't have the same erosional forces that Earth does right now because the atmosphere is virtually non-existent. And there's not flowing water all over the place. So I'm okay if there's a little bit of erosion or sediment deposition and things like that. Anyway, just skipping ahead here, this is the obvious comparison. And John, this is a perfect comparison. I mean, just look at this thing. How, if you're telling me that Teotihuacan, when covered with just a little bit of dirt, wouldn't look like exactly what we see like on Mars.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah. If I can add, Brian, I speculate this pyramid on Mars was covered with water for quite an extent, for a long period of time, and sediment gathered on top of this thing. And that's why it looks so weird. And then there was erosion, and then it stood in shallow water for very, very long. Look at the erosion pattern at the base. Just like the pyramids on Earth, I think this was close to water.
Like waves there at the base. And let's keep in mind, and that side by side, let's keep in mind that even much of Teotihuacan as we see it today was reconstructed or, sort of glued back together versus how it really looked once they got all the nature off of it. The similarity would grow, no doubt.
So this is a staggering comparison, by the way. The chat's popping off about it.
Right. I mean, I show this to people, and I think when we're addressing skepticism, I get it. I know what it's like to not be in the Mars zone, and for all this to be new, because all we've ever been told by NASA. By the way, okay, a few things just to contextualize this conversation. NASA is a great agency. They've come up with these marvelous feats of engineering that have furthered our understanding of the universe, and we love them for that. Okay, we have all these beautiful space pictures and all this data about the solar system and the galaxies, and it's a wonderful agency. I just don't think they're in the business of disclosure. Okay, so when they discover a lot of stuff, they're legally obligated to publish it, 90% of it, let's say. But they really just don't like to talk about their discovery. So when something like this comes along, the average Joe might say, well, if NASA found a pyramid on Mars, then they would tell me about it. And because they didn't tell me about it, then I'm not going to believe some random guy on the internet. So we have these amazing structures there, and I just think I lost my train of thought. But if we're addressing skepticism, here it is. I think what most people think is not unlike what I thought, and other people I've spoken with. It's hard to believe that these things that we'll be presenting actually are on Mars, or actually are the things that some people suggest they are. because they're on Mars. That is the reason. That can't possibly be a pyramid because it's on Mars.
That's it. That's it. I jokingly said the first time you guys walked me through that, if you told me this was LiDAR of South America, I would not argue with you at all, right? My brain would go, we found a complex. Where is it? Let's go, right?
Yeah.
Now,
I wanted to shout out quick. Hold it. Where is he? Dobsonian Power Super Chat, $10. I don't know. I don't think that's depending on whose channel he's watching it on. Somebody just made $10. So thank you so much for your donation to whoever's channel, because we're actually live on 3 YouTube channels right now. So shout out.
Dobsonian Power. Wow, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Somebody's also talking about Electric Universe. Yes, Electric Universe has a lot to do with Mars. There's so much to Mars, and that's the thing, is that the Mars, the research, the Mars researchers. Sorry, I'm just stumbling over my words. I'm just so excited about talking about you guys. The Mars disclosure community.
Lean into it, bro. Lean into that excitement.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm happy to talk to you guys. Look, it's really exciting for Jean and I to be able to reach out and to expand our network into this community, the ancient civilization stuff. Like, Jason, I'm new to your work. I'm getting caught up on. I'm watching your videos. It's really awesome stuff. Dave, we went to the Cosmic Subject, Megan, like we're all into this ancient civilization stuff. And if Mars was like Earth before Earth was like Earth, and it has freaking pyramids on it, and this is one of dozens, okay, dozens, all right, it is the strongest example. I believe that there's reason to believe, in my opinion, that humanity, and I have some metaphysical friends who sort of back this up, humanity perhaps could have started on Mars and been transported, or perhaps our predecessors in some way. There's this is not my area of expertise, but humanoids may have started on Mars and have traveled to Earth to get off of their planet. So that's
we're not the first person I've heard allude to the fact that we're not exactly designed for the natural conditions of this planet. When one, if one wanted to allegedly go there, that there is a little bit of science, in the fine print that
right
towards it. Yeah.
Well, the data is suggesting that. As to that story specifically, and to talking about the myths and legends and things like that, that I'm not an expert on that kind of stuff. You can talk to Billy Carson about that kind of stuff. But so Jean and I are really focused on the geometric, like Carl Sagan, the geometric regularity, because you just can't argue with that. Because most people know the face on Mars, which has a variety of different interpretations. However, I'm producing a whole video on that shows more of a quantifiable analysis on that. Okay, I don't really want to get into the face today, unless you twist my arm on it. I just want to show a few key examples and have sort of John talk about like his methodology here, and like get you guys to react to some of this stuff. Because in my opinion, if you're looking at this, it just is intuitively obvious.
Agreed. Intuitively obvious. I just wanted to, before we went past it, pull up a question from Rubate.
Yeah. The more you carry on, I think is correct. The more intuitively obvious it just becomes. I love that everybody's wowed by the first one because
we're just getting started.
Yeah.
He said, have you compared the LiDAR images, or have you used the LiDAR images to compare the Amazon in particular, to compare it to some of this stuff?
Well, the LiDAR images that we have here on Earth show structures that we can only see. We can only see through LiDAR. We can't see with the naked eye because it's tropical jungle coverage of these things. And we see these square shapes, and we see these things. We say, hey, that's a city, or that's a pyramid. And arguably, they're of much lower resolution than what we're seeing right here on Mars. So we're perfectly willing to accept these LiDAR images as showing artificial structures here on Earth, and they look just like these little tiny, low resolution squares and geometric regularities, like Carl Sagan would say. And so what I'm trying to do is really trying to find the way to introduce this concept, because when I first heard about pyramids on Mars, man, my gut, I just had an uneasy feeling, because if they're pyramids on Mars, then somebody was there before and built them and is no longer there. And then what happened to the planet? And that's what
Built them 2.5 miles wide or kilometers. I can't remember. It doesn't either way.
I think somewhere in the ancient community, is the ancient Civ community. You definitely have an intro there, because anybody whose narrative already allows for a worldwide civilization of some sort with megalithic building capabilities, which we barely see echoed in some of the things that remain in Earth today, right? If you've got that community, then to say you see the same thing but slightly larger on Mars, is that community is not have a problem with that.
Yeah. Dave and Megan, what's your take when you see stuff like this?
Well, Megan's not on screen right now in this version, but she can hear and answer. I mean,
you can make this smaller to get us all back up there if you want, because
I don't think it's possible. I was messing around with it. It's all good. I'm sure everyone would rather see Megan than me, but
oh, come on.
This is the only way to do it at this. I can do it like this, as long as there's nothing at the any text at the bottom that we need to read.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's good.
Okay. But when I see this, I just I don't know. I like. If that's a pyramid on Mars, that's 2.5 or miles or kilometers or whatever, because it doesn't matter.
You good, dude?
Then what in the flying are we dealing with here on Mars, right? Like that's what I think of when I see that. And this looks exactly like that, like Teotihuacan, the Pyramid of the Sun. So I don't know what to do with that. Megan?
I'm currently on a hunt for pyramids and other ancient structures over in Indonesia, and this looks similar to some of what I'm looking for and finding. So this isn't a big stretch for me at all. I'm not a hard sell on this theory.
Megan, it's what kind of gave me the chills, because as you say, I've been using this LiDAR, which is very blurry, to find things here on this Earth. And then I would go to them, right? And so I had this very visceral and real experience of looking at these images and then going to them. And so then when I looked at them on Mars, it was just sort of that. Chills is the best way to say it, going, oh, no, they were there too. Yeah.
It's like an intuition feeling too. It's like the evidence I have of other things just points to this being a very valid theory, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we're at like a sort of a paradigm shifting moment in human history right now, all across the board, across everything. We're learning that what we've been told isn't, the truth. And so when I see this, I'm open to it because, the 4-letter agency isn't. So, but wow, would that be crazy? Like that, because my 14-year-old mind seeing Mission to Mars with Gary Sinise, that blew the lid wide open for me. But if there's a pyramid on Mars that's fucking 2.5 miles long, it changes everything.
Brian, I just want to interject, if I may. I don't know if you guys have seen the 3 pyramids that are also sort of placed like those 3 are in Cairo on Mars. I've found 3 pyramids, and the one is 4 kilometers across, and they're placed like in the pattern or the geometry of Orion's belt. It's like a duplicate, except these 3 pyramids are highly eroded. I don't know if you've seen that one, Brian.
Yeah, I think so.
The one
you want to bring it up?
The one to the left looks like the DNM pyramid. Let me see if I can find it quickly.
While you look, I remember, Jean, you did show that to us because we only half jokingly started talking about the computer software we have now, which allows us to look at star positions. For instance, it's how we came up with the Orion correlation on the pyramids. We can look at star positions long ago, right, and see what and where they're lining up. And you and I talked about, man, wouldn't it be amazing if we had the tech to do that from Mars and see what these things lined up to? Yeah.
Right. I'm going to share.
Yeah, gotcha.
There they are.
Let's see.
I don't know if you guys can see that.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. The one on the left has that characteristic strange part sticking off, like the DNM pyramid close to the face in Sardinia. The middle one is 4 kilometers wide, and then there's a smaller one to the right.
Smaller one.
Yeah. So, all right, if the DNM pyramid got so much airtime, why can't this pyramid on the left-hand side get just as much airtime? And then, coincidentally, there's 2 others next to it.
Right.
And the one is slightly off-center and slightly off the center line as well, just like the 3 pyramids in Egypt. I mean,
and the 3 pyramids at
Teotihuacan. Pure coincidence, but that to me just shouts like, we need to find out what's going on there. I don't know if you guys agree, but that to me was also quite striking.
Yeah, no, that's very striking. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 4-sided things, and it looks like you might even have another one off to the right that's possibly 4 or 5. Yeah,
more elongated.
Yeah, man.
Well, pyramids do come in all different shapes and sizes. They're not all just the Great Pyramid. So
They do. I'm sure Brian's going to look at the Crater Pyramid soon as well.
Yeah, and Teotihuacan has the similar 2 lined up with 1 offset. And so they're 1, 2, 3 examples of that configuration. So,
right. That to me was damn interesting.
Yeah, Jean, it's incredible how much Jean finds. Part of what we are trying to do here is really introduce all the stuff that has been found prior to us getting into it by, an entirely different generation of independent Mars researchers. And let's just talk about that for a second. Maybe we'll save the face on Mars for a different day because it's a whole can of worms. But essentially what it boils down to is this. NASA has made a deliberate decision not to investigate these strange anomalies on Mars. And because they did that, there was that only left room for independent researchers to really get involved. Most notably Richard Hoagland, which some of you may have heard of. And he did a great job at attacking the artificiality hypothesis, this idea that we have these man-made structures on Mars through a multidisciplinary approach. He got together an independent team of aerospace industry personnel, anthropologists, people from academia to take a look at these structures on Mars. And from let's just say around 80 up until the 2000s, I mean, they were really digging into this stuff. And then there were new generations of people started taking a look at this stuff. But Jean just mentioned the DNM pyramid, which I wanted to show to you guys. I don't know if Jason, Dave, you might have seen this before. Megan, you probably haven't. But when they discovered the face on Mars, they also discovered this other structure. And because John just brought it up, I figure we might as well just talk about it real quick.
Yeah, let's see it.
Yeah, okay. So 12 miles. See, here's the face where is it? Here's the face up here. Okay. So right down here is this other funky structure. Okay. Which is called the D&M Pyramid, named after the two people who discovered it, DiPietro and Molinar, the guys' last names. So if we take a closer look at this, what we see is this interesting starfish type of pattern. Where is it here? Okay, and we're going to get some various angles on it. This part up here is actually flat. It doesn't really count because it's not elevated. We'll see it better here in just a second. Here's a left side view. As I said, this part is flat. Okay. Now, keep in mind, recall that the surface of Mars is very old. We're talking millions. NASA says that the planet lost its atmosphere 3.5 billion years ago. So, you know, I don't know of anybody who has a better estimate about that, but that's why I'm saying millions.
10,000, 12,000 years ago.
Maybe. Look, dude, I don't know. Okay. Brandon Berg's thing goes back 250 million years. So look, it's old. All right. So it's not going to be in pristine shape. However, even after all that time, we still have a structure here. And we'll take a look at it from the other side. Okay. And by the way, this thing is 2.5 miles long. Again, these things are huge. Now you might say this side here is sort of damaged or eroded or something, and that's fair because it does appear it's not in pristine shape.
It's old as AF.
That's right. But that right side damage, you know, the face is also got some damage or erosion on its right side too. And by the way, they both point in the same direction. So if orientations mean anything to you, but if we flip it upside down, we see this starfish pattern here. And again, it doesn't look, starfish, here we go, doesn't look like volcanoes.
No.
Now, okay, there's Carl Sagan. Oh, all right. Now, if we overlay some angles with it, is this not the geometric regularity that Carl Sagan is talking about?
Yeah.
It's highly symmetrical, and it has repeated expressions of geometry.
I think that needs to be our Mars disclosure logo. That
Yeah, that one right there.
I love that.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now let's take a look at the symmetry here. Let's see how it holds up. I put this together here, this red outline. It's just okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to mirror each side. So for this one, we're going to mirror the left side, and for this one, we're going to mirror the right side. Now this red outline is exactly the same on both of them. And if we go next, and if we mirror them, everything holds up really well. What are the chances that nature makes something like that? Do winds blow in 5 different directions, making a symmetrical 5-sided pyramidal structure that is 12 miles away from something that looks like a giant humanoid face?
Wow. We got to get Danny Hillman on one of these episodes so he can say with his geology knowledge that that absolutely is not natural.
I'm in. That's a good idea.
That's the thing. It's like geologists, NASA wants to explain everything through the lens of geology. And of course, Danny has a much more open mind than NASA does. So we need geologists with an open mind to comment on this stuff because their opinion is just as valid as NASA's. You know, I'm just saying I've seen enough mountains from satellite images to know that the only standalone mountains we really have here on Earth are volcanoes, and they don't come looking like this.
Yeah. That's the thing that has always struck me so much is when you zoom out also and you just see where these things are in the landscape, where they are in relation to others. And then you go, okay, fine. It's a weird ass mountain. Where are the rest of the mountains? Where did this just bubble up? You know, yeah.
Right. Oh, and this is neither here nor there. It's just funny.
Oh my gosh. What? Okay,
it's probably just a coincidence. I'm not going to apply any significance to it.
How could that possibly be a coincidence? I don't think they chose that shape accidentally for the
Well,
the Freemasons are into sacred
exactly.
geometry.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. And they designed that city, so I don't think it's a stretch.
What? Oh, we thought a city. What?
So, for those of you who are interested, I did an interview with George Haas on this very specific thing. George has been one of these guys. He's been on Ancient Aliens and the History Channel. He's been doing this a lot longer than everybody else, and he's a great guy. And he's got this nice book here, Great Architects of Mars, great cover. And George actually published a research paper. You guys know Professor Robert Schoch, don't you? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Never heard of him. Never heard of him.
Right. Sorry, stupid. So George paired up with Robert Schoch, and they published a research paper on that square on Mars. You guys remember that from last year that went viral?
Yep.
Yeah. Now we have Professor Robert Schoch getting in on this, basically saying, look, this square ain't natural. So, Mars Disclosure has got some good advocates. And by the way, I think, John, this was one of your... See, the other thing Jean does, and maybe you can talk about this, Jean, is not only will Jean actually find stuff, because he's got a really gifted and trained eye, but he's an imaging analyst and a graphic designer, and he upscales images to help refine their quality. So a lot of times NASA has these maybe blurry photos or really highly pixelated photos. And what Jean will go in and do is use specialized software that helps clean it up. And in fact, for anybody who's skeptical of this, I don't blame them, but this is in fact the very same software that NASA uses to do the same damn thing. Okay. So if they're relying on it to clean up their images, we cannot blame Jean for doing the same thing.
Nice. No, they use Topaz Labs, Gigapixel, and some of the other products from the company. And if you go to the LinkedIn page for Topaz Labs, you'll see that NASA is one of the main users of the software. So it's AI based, which means it's based on a, what's it called? Large language model.
Yep.
Yeah, and computer learning or machine learning. So every time NASA uses it, this AI learns from it. So when we use that software to upscale images that NASA releases, then I think it's using the data from those models. So in my opinion, the upscales are very accurate. And you also see in the description of Topaz Gigapixel, they say it deconvolutes, I think is the right word, to get rid of noise and artifacts in the photographs. And that's another reason why NASA uses it, because it gets rid of all those artifacts, the compression artifacts, the Moyer patterns, that you get from compression. And it produces a highly accurate representation of what's there, because it preserves edges of objects. So it doesn't make it blurry when it upscales it like a normal magnifier would. So,
Dave, can we just show this real quick? Their LinkedIn page.
Yeah, can you share it? I wanted to point out too just something about Robert Schoch, because he's not one of these. He's not like, he won't like. For example, at Yonaguni, he's a skeptic of Yonaguni. He's one of he says it's natural when a lot of people say that it's not. Yonaguni Monument off the coast of Japan. Check it out if you don't know what it is. But he's not the type of guy who will just like, say something's natural or not, like based off nothing,
Exactly. To get him, it's a great feat that George was able to get him included on this, because he's not just going to stick his neck out for nothing.
No.
But here, Topaz Labs, this is what John is talking about. Okay, this is their LinkedIn page. All right, and they have their software is called Gigapixel. And here, Apple, Netflix, NASA. Okay, they're the ones using it. If we just click their little link here, it just basically shows what it does, right? It just basically cleans it up a little bit. Okay, so this is really specialized software, and Jean uses it conservatively. Okay. And there have been times where he's used it and it's rendered something, and then he's even gone back later and done a different render on it because the software was updated and it produces more accurate results. And in the interest of transparency, we really want to try to, quite often some of these things really don't require upscaling for you to tell that they're just anomalies. It's really just, okay, we know this is strange. We just want to see a little bit more detail regarding its shape. Get rid of the blur for me, because obviously I can see like it's a perfect circle sort of thing. So
anyway. Brian, it's not like these upscalers that are available online for free, that you upload your photo to and then it upscales it for you and you can download the upscaled image. This is paid for software that is very sophisticated.
Yeah. Right.
And I can't overemphasize that enough, because these free upscalers do a really poor job, and there aren't really any parameters you can adjust. So you get these weird things, man, like extra ears and extra fingers, that sort of thing.
Right.
So,
all right.
Yeah, Gigapixel does an extremely good job, in my opinion.
Should we go on to the next, Dave?
We shall.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm I really like how you pointed that out, that we don't actually need to upscale these to decide that they're anomalous. But
here's a good example. This was taken decades ago. Jason and Dave, you might have seen this, but Megan, you probably haven't.
Yeah, the cone next, or the pyramid next to the pool, it's just weird. Yeah.
That's very weird and anomalous.
Just to give you
well, if it was a crater, right, it would have done something to that structure or whatever, that mound next to it. It's hard to see them as separate occurring instances. It wouldn't have created that, so then how did that thing rise up out of nothing next to a crater? It's just hard to see them as separate instances.
Exactly. That's the question. I mean, things on Mars are huge. What produces a 2.5 mile wide crater with the surrounding ejecta field? You see the ejecta. It's all over here, okay? And then we have this structure here. Now, again, let me go back one. What does it look like? Megan, what do you think it looks like?
What does it look like? I'm like, my brain's going to Atlantis for some reason.
My brain's going to a ring pop.
My brain often goes to Atlantis.
Ring pop.
A giant ring pop.
We just learned a lot about Dave. This is like a word test here. The kid inside is coming out.
Bill said it even has a boat ramp.
The anomalous factor here is, first of all, why do we see something that is 1.7 miles wide right adjacent to an impact crater? This we don't need to go off on a remote viewing tangent, but this was the exact feature that Joe McMoneagle remote viewed during the Stargate program, that was declassified and is all the rave now on the internet. But this exact thing right here, NASA did take an updated photo of this to give us better resolution on this. You can clearly see, based on the shadows, that it's not conical. It has sides to it. It's directly adjacent to an impact crater, thus the anomaly being the meteor impact would have destroyed it had it been there.
So it had to be created after the impact, is what you're saying. There's
no damage, and you see this up close. Like, this is where it touches. This is the rim of that crater. There's nothing on it. So How did it get there? Is it a volcano? Doesn't look like a volcano.
Well, you already showed us a bunch of volcanoes on Mars.
I know that's what I don't know what else to call it, because
is that ejecta, all around the big circle? Is it really? Because could this have been some sort of large enclosed, source of water, perhaps, and then it would have been involved with the structure so that over time, if perhaps, say, an air burst or something, boom, up above these things, then you would have these walls or these structures or whatever around this circle go away. I'm just trying to let my mind play with it, right? It's
Yeah.
very hard to find reasons why these things exist right next to each other.
Brian,
If they're natural.
Yeah.
are you going to show them Coral Soupe here on Earth?
What is it?
Coral Soupe.
I don't know what that is.
There's an analog for these crater pyramids. It's an ancient pyramid in South America with a water reservoir next to it.
How do you spell that?
Oh, I've got it on my blog. Oh, Coral Soupe. Yeah. Yeah.
This one.
Yes. Yes.
Oh yeah. What the?
Oh.
Yeah.
Come on.
Now, see if that if we put a bomb over that right now and
and cover it in sand.
Spread out, what would we have? Something like the picture you just showed us.
It's an interesting comparison for sure. What do you think? You have NASA. This is when I talk about I think it's fair for us to characterize some of these things. It's because NASA will sometimes characterize them, and I think it's ridiculous how they characterize them. And here's one example. NASA actually titles this. Here's the NASA webpage. Knob surrounded by crater ejecta.
Huh.
What is a knob? Anybody know what a knob is?
Right.
I had to look
I know what a knob is, but that's not what it looks like.
That's another one.
It's kind of hard to see because it's getting cut off a little bit, but a knob is a more common name for this other word called came, which I never heard of here. Okay.
Oh,
AKA.
Brian dropped off.
We lost Brian. Language is important,
Got him.
Yeah, it is. There's
It
back.
is.
Oh, Brian's back.
there we go.
Am I
A
back?
glacial deposit next to a crater. Okay.
So yeah, it's loose material that gets picked up by a glacier and then just sort of deposited when the glacier melts away. And these are images of knobs or cames here on Earth.
Wow.
But it's like a small hill, not something that is 1.7 miles wide.
And that's four-sided.
Well, and it would have been affected by the impact. I mean, a 2.5 mile wide impact crater, that's like what took out the dinosaurs. I mean, that would have made some,
Can
it would have not left the hill or whatever they're calling it, the cane.
Can I ask a layman question about crater impacts?
Right.
I hear there's a theory in the moon where no matter how big the impact, it only goes so deep, which is interesting to me. That looks like shallow for how big it is to me. So is there a similar phenomenon on Mars that no matter how big the impact, it only goes so deep? Do we know about that?
Good question. Not sure. But here we see the surrounding area. And I'm just looking at this, and I can't describe it any other way. They just look like ejecta fields from an impact. I mean, I don't know what else it could possibly be. And oh, by the way, there's nothing else like it in the surrounding area. There's no other large hill or mountain or volcano or pyramidal mound or whatever in the area. It's the only one. So does anybody really buy that this is a glacial deposit that just so happened? The surrounding ejecta is not on top of the structure.
Yeah.
The structure's on top of the surrounding ejecta. So it's these oddities that I'm just wondering, like,
it's questions. Yeah. It's lots of questions.
Now getting back to the land of Chem, he hypothesizes, and he's got good data to back this up, that the Egyptian pyramids used water in order to function. Okay. So their proximity to water was important. And this got me thinking. Well, here's his slide on that. He's like, they had this water and it came in and they used it as a pump, blah, 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 blah. I encourage you guys to go check that out because it's really fascinating stuff. But it got me thinking, what would that crater be when the planet was blue?
Right.
A source of water.
Yeah, and also a place to put a like that ancients would have put a structure, right? You know, like.
Well, I mean, you can think of lots of reasons why, if we're going to call that an impact crater like the other holes around it, right? There's lots of reasons. Could be resources, particular resources. Could have been when it was blue, it held water. I mean, there's ad infinitum reasons, but it's, I think your main point in showing us this and getting us to study this is there's no story you can tell yourself about them coexisting. You know what I mean? Without some sort of manipulation from an outside unnatural force.
Mm.
Yeah, and just like here on Earth, the ancient civilizations would use the material that is naturally available to them. Like those caves in India. What do they call them?
Bara Bara?
Bora Bora. Yeah. They made these chambers inside these huge boulders. So yeah, too, if the water was receding and there's an impact crater or depression, they'd use that as a source of water. Why not?
It almost looks like material has been taken away from the side where the structure, the pyramid or whatever it is. So yeah, my mind's starting to go towards where was the material to build this thing? Maybe they harvested it right from the edge of the impact crater. Impact craters we know here on Earth make shock quartz and all kinds of cool shit that have piezoelectricity. I mean, who knows? But it is kind of cool that it almost looks like they sort of were gathering material and from it. It's very cool, John.
Now, interestingly enough, I said Joe McMoneagle viewed this exact one. Here's a presentation of him he gave in the 80s, okay, where he's showing it. Like he said, he remote viewed this very specific thing. And he's the one.
This image came from a remote view.
Well, I mean, NASA took the image.
Oh,
he was tasked against this target, not knowing it was Mars. And he said, I see pyramids. I see beings, tall beings, and it seems like they're going through some hardship. I'm sort of paraphrasing here because they've had massive geological catastrophe and they're trying to find a new place to live. Okay, and he's seeing large megalithic structures, and the horizon looks different. Why does the horizon look so different? He didn't know he was on Mars when he saw this. It was only after the fact that he was told, oh, by the way, you were on Mars. He was like, what? So, I mean, you can look at the transcript. It's crazy reading this stuff. And here he is giving a whole presentation in front of I forget where, a UFO conference or something like that back in the 80s. Now, the interesting thing is that this is not the only crater pyramid. Jean has found others, so has another gentleman. His name is Gary. And I'm like, guys, I just don't see how nature would do this.
Wow.
And I want to say that Joe McMoneagle is regarded as one of the most prolific remote viewers ever. So,
right,
over 450 like successful remote viewing attempts and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so,
well, he's found missing kids, and it's incredible. I interviewed him. That I'm doing a whole video on that later. But I mean, there's something to this remote viewing, and anyway. So we have remote viewer metaphysical analysis of it. We have some other analysis of it as well, but I'm just so focused on these images because I think the images speak for themselves.
It literally looks like now, what I said earlier, maybe it's confirmation bias, but it literally looks like in these they were built onto, like they were gathering material. It's so strange, man.
Yeah, Jean, you found this first one, didn't you?
Yeah, coincidentally, Gary and myself found that thing on the same day. Because when I published my video on YouTube late in the afternoon, yeah, South Africa time, Gary said to me, yeah, but he's just posted to X, the same thing. Like a day apart.
Yeah. So
It was
there's a
so
few,
weird.
there's a
He thought I was copying his work, but he didn't even give his coordinates as to where that is. So it's very weird that we discovered that thing basically at the same time.
That is very weird.
I've got
Yeah.
something in that one too on the left, guys, that I haven't seen anywhere else. Look at the way it's flowing, or seems to. There's like a plateau, from the ejecti that we see in a lot of these pyramids that I don't know, must hint at something. Sorry to interrupt, Jean.
No problem. There's also, if you look at the landscape around the first one, it looks like there was a river that flowed past.
Yeah.
And it also looks as if it was standing in shallow water for quite an extended period of time. Look at the erosion around the round depression.
That would make
On the
sense. It would.
surface. It's like eroded away from water.
It looks like your sandcastle on the beach when the tide comes in.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
very good.
That's a good comparison.
Sure does.
So and I'll and this one over here is remarkable. I mean, my God,
Absolutely mind-blowing.
it's just as square as the one that Jean found. So, and again, these things are look. There's a crater next to it. Obviously, it's huge. I don't know the exact measurement on this, but in general, these things are about a mile big at least. So, and guys, this is just where it starts, man. There's
Right.
There are others that John has produced hundreds of videos at this point, not just on pyramids but on artifacts. Maybe we'll get into artifacts next time because we're running long here.
Almost 1,000 videos, Brian.
1,000?
Yeah.
And prolific. So, I guess Megan, after seeing some of these things, like, is this something like you'd want to dive into a little bit more? Like, do you think the average person, when seeing stuff like this, that it would make them think, maybe there is something to this pyramid on Mars thing, or is this not enough to really move the needle? What are your thoughts?
So I think those are two different questions. For me, I'm in. You just have to say pyramid, show me something that looks like a pyramid, and I'm all over that. And for the general population, I just can't see why this wouldn't be incredibly interesting to learn more about, at the very least, to open your mind and absorb some of the incredible information that's coming out.
Dave, what are your thoughts? I know you've seen some of this stuff, but have you seen all these things before?
Some of the other images, the most recent ones you showed tonight, I haven't. I don't think I've seen that ring pop before either. But I'm gonna test it out on my wife later and see what she says, because she's not into any of this stuff. So I'll get back to you.
Metric. Yeah, that's a good metric.
And as far as artifacts go, I want to see those too. But I agree. Like, let's there's so much to go through. That maybe pyramids could be for today and artifacts could be for another. But if you want to see the art, if you can't wait, just go to Jean's channel.
Go to that man's page. Yeah. If I saw those on a LiDAR on Earth, guys, I'd be in there. I would go there to see what it is. That's what I had to say about it. That, and for an audience member, look, if you really want to try to work with it, just look at any of these pictures and play in your head with your imagination natural circumstances that would create what you see before you. And if you do that, you're going to run into a whole bunch of roadblocks. I think it's a healthy exercise, and it's not hard.
Thanks for the compliment, guys.
I hope you have another decade at least of this amazing work to come.
Well, my wish is to live till I'm 126 years old.
Me too.
And I'd like to go to Mars, but only if there's a return trip. I don't want to stay there.
I'd probably go anyway.
Thank you. Thanks,
because,
Megan. I appreciate it.
I don't know, dudes. The first 47 have been pretty fucking rough. Maybe another 40. I think I'll
That's
want.
been rough. I'll be honest with you. Yeah.
Right. This has been great, gentlemen. I know we're going to keep doing this. We're going to attempt to make this a monthly affair. And I know, like Brian says, you've been doing a lot, I know behind the scenes, and we are just sort of starting to see the fruits of it. And we're all just excited to be here for whatever this can become. And I think this was a great start. Because you're giving people a soft intro, and then once we get to the artifacts, it's just,
oh my gosh,
dude, there's wires and barbed wire and doors to nowhere, and you can see, it gets pretty wild.
We have to wait till next time. I'm so intrigued.
Sorry about the cliffhanger, but I think it's going to be worth it because we've got a lot of stuff to look at, and and a soft intro is in my opinion, a good way to do this. And it's a good way to introduce this concept, which is what we're trying to do. The Mars disclosure and the Mars disclosure community. What is it? What are we trying to do? How are we trying to do it? Right. And I'm so grateful for how much work Jean and others have put into this so that we can just show it to the world, and Brian can do his orchestrating behind the scenes and get this stuff out. I mean, do you know when that episode's dropping, Brian, on Matt Bell, or has it dropped yet?
No, it'll be a couple weeks, Dave.
Okay. And I'm super excited about that. How was that experience? Was that fun?
Yeah, it was pretty cool, man. Before I forget, let me just show one more slide, because this is our introductory episode, and I think this is important.
Yes, please.
Okay.
What is it? Cliffhanger.
Hang on.
Okay, Dave, you can stop the stream.
Here we go. Okay. Me and John are here, but I wanted to recognize, let's see, guess allow. Just one more quick screen share, Dave.
Got it.
These are the folks who Jean and I have been in touch with. There's other Mars anomaly researchers here. There's people who are studying biology, artificiality. Some of them have been doing it for a lot longer than me, and Jean here. So, these are the people who we really need to help elevate, because they're working behind the scenes. My friend Barry here has been working on this stuff since the 90s, and has helped inform me a lot about the biology experiments that have been done on Mars, and the history of Viking, and our new buddy Max, who's been doing a lot of the stuff with the moon. Jeff Cruikshank, who has been he's down in Australia. So this is really worldwide that these people, Rami over in Israel, he's kind of hard to get a hold of, but he has arguably found the most important artifact. In my opinion, he has got the top-notch artifact on Mars that I don't see how anybody can argue with it. John, I think you know what I'm talking about. We'll save that one. We'll start with that one next time.
You guys are killing me.
Yes.
I know.
Calendars for the next live stream, everybody.
Megan, Jean messed up, and he sent me his PDF last time so I could share it with the audience. So I can slide his presentation over to you.
But
you're welcome to. My stuff is public domain. I don't mind.
Yeah. So I showed this at the beginning of Matt Bell, so hopefully it makes the cut in the podcast. I just wanted, my goal here is to try to elevate the work of everybody you see here on this list, and this list is growing. Sorry if I forgot anybody, but Hey,
Yeah.
maybe now we're starting this. I add your guys' names to it too.
These
But-
are all
Yes.
people we need on the show as well. Let's
I-
Well, I did
Yes.
want to tease that we may be getting the legend himself, Mr. John Brandenburg. Just throwing that out
Oh,
there.
wow. That will be awesome.
Potentially, we'll see.
Yeah.
Potentially, Danny Hillman, a renowned geologist from Indonesia, to look at some of this stuff with us. So we've got plans, guys, to show more stuff, to bring on more experts. Hopefully, Ricardo Calvario will have his.
Well, and speaking of Ricardo, he has an in with a potential name that was mentioned earlier. I'm not going to ruin it just yet either. That wasn't on that list. But I'm very excited. I think we've got to go through one person first before we get to that interview. But yeah, we're all over this topic, and I'm excited. And guys, I'm just pleased as punch to be here. I think we established something. Brian, you said it first. This community is a great community to start introing because they're already familiar with looking for these structures here on Earth. That's what got me hooked, and I think this was a great beginning. Thank you all.
I do too.
That was awesome. Yeah, thanks.
Shout out Rubate for the $5 donation. He says the impact on our Civ if Elon sent a rocket there and we confirmed they were pyramids and found the DNA in the fossils was the same as ours. I don't quite get the question. Does anybody else get it? Either way, thank you so much, Rubate. And I guess I'm gonna have to send you a hat to Australia because I promised whoever donated super chat would
It's
get
gonna
a
cost
free hat.
you more than the donation, bro.
It's worth it. Rue is a big supporter of this community, the Lost Ancient Civ community, and all that stuff. So it'll be worth it.
I think he's asking if we went there and we found DNA in the fossils or found DNA somewhere there. How would that change us if the DNA was similar to ours? If we went there, and,
Right.
we can figure that out. I know the team who's building such a device that can actually answer that question.
I don't think it changes things too much, does it? We're still here, whatever happened. I think the fact that we know we had taller varieties of us walking around in the native North Americans, it gives you a link to potentially taller people there. But we're still here walking around. Doesn't change shit, does it?
I think Mars also serves as an example of what could happen to us.
Now you're hitting on some so important. Yeah,
We'll get
that's
into
where
that later.
my work in antediluvian Alabama is all about the catastrophe, and that's where it eventually leads you. If it happened once, it could happen again.
Well, look, guys, the Earth is not static. Mars is not static. It's constantly changing slowly, but they also they on a galactic scale, they're constantly changing in like dramatic ways as well. So we can't just act like we have it all figured out. We don't even have it figured out on this planet. So to act like we got it figured out on Mars is a bit ridiculous.
It's a bit arrogant.
Yeah.
I always say the more I find, the more questions I have.
And questions are good. Being wrong is good because it leads you to correct answers,
Being humble. Do you know the ultimate definition of humble is to remain teachable, and by guys like John Ward and all these other independent researchers out here bringing things to us, they are humble, and I think we all owe them that in return and the respect. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah.
My motto is seek truth, not proof. And I think that's what you guys are doing here, and I appreciate that.
Very cool. Jean, where can everyone find you? Megan, throw up those captions.
Yeah.
On YouTube at Jean Ward, JeanWard, and on X at Jean Ward Mars. And then I've got a blog, megalithicmars.com.
Sweet. And all these links are going to be in the description. They already are. The Shaman, Jason Huffman, where can everyone find you, my friend?
So me personally, YouTube, Shaman711, Rumble, Shaman711, X, Shaman711 with a underscore. You can use X as a hub. Everything is linked through there. Also, the website, the YouTube for the Institute of Natural Philosophy YouTube page is where you'll find my show, The Shaman and Philosopher, with Ricardo Calvario 1. Thank you, dude.
Excellent show as well. Excellent episode last night. I just love watching you guys kind of go back and forth and go through the stuff. It's a fun show, so check that out. BCD, Brian, Cory Dobbs, where you at, brother?
Yeah, man. For those of you who are new to my work, feel free to go to the website, blueplanetred.net. There you can find the links to watch the documentary. I recommend starting there first before heading on over to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is sort of the continuing series of the documentary because I've learned so much and I've met new people after I put the film out. And there's just so much to Mars, and I couldn't fit it all in the film, so I just had to keep doing it on YouTube at Brian Cory Dobbs and on Twitter at Brian Cory Dobbs.
I think a part 2 will be good, Brian. A sequel.
Well, totally. And also the chat's already asking for they're down for a monthly go at this. So sounds like a success. I also just wanted to put it out there into the universe. George Howard, let's bring Jean Ward to the next Cosmic Summit. Let's bring him here to North Carolina. Have him show some of this stuff at Cosmic Summit. That would be outstanding. George Howard, if you're watching.
Oh, we'd go, dude.
Super chat, $20. Love the Mars content JW provides. He started doing the moon as well. So yeah, we'll even dig into the moon at some point in this, I think, too. To those of you in the chat, everyone, Bill, Tammy, Rob, I can't pronounce some of you guys' stuff. I just wanted to say thank you so much. And thank you for the super chats. I don't know exactly where they're going because we've never actually streamed on three different YouTube channels at the same time. So some of us made a couple bucks tonight. That goes towards
use it to send the hat to Rue, okay? Whoever.
Yeah. All that stuff goes towards the work, guys, and putting this information out there. And we really, 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 really appreciate it. And so with that being said, thank you for joining the first of hopefully many Mars Disclosure Live. Let's go, guys. Thanks so much.
Our best future requires the truth of our past. Thank you all for being a part of that.
All right. And good night, everyone. Starfleet
Thanks,
Academy out.
Keep your eyes on the skies.
Thank you, Dave and Megan, for hosting this. Thank you, Jason, for joining. John, keep up the great work, buddy.
You got it.
Peace out. Subscribe to Dave's Multiverse on YouTube for more Megan and Dave. Have a great night, everyone. Subscribe to all